hope you wake up and your dog licked your makeup. I hope you get ready for work and you can't find your shirt. I hope you go on a date and your man asks for space with no place for excuses. I hope he chuck deuces. I hope all your plans fail with no money for bail and you end up in jail, but you live to tell where your space is invaded by the hate you created, trying to run through a village, lie, steal, and pillage. We need personal space. Just drop out.
Oh, y'all, excuse me, because you know how much I hate to interrupt your scroll. So let me hurry up and get through this, because you can go back to do what you gotta do, and I can go back to doing what I gotta do. And I made an illustration just to make it easier for everybody. All right, this is me, and this is you. Okay, and this could be a family, friend, co-worker, alone in the world with a little cat dog. I don't care who it is, to whom it may concern. However, when we get together, it is now us. You know what always gets me is when we first start out, it's always cool, calm, and collected. I like it that way. But somewhere along the lines, you realize, this is you once again, realizing that you like to play games. Okay, you have become so fascinated with playing games that now all of a sudden you think that you can play with me. Here's you thinking that you can play with me. That's crazy. It's honestly crazy, but obviously you like to live on the edge. Okay, now you realize that you found a new love for these games, that you want to incorporate them in your everyday lifestyle. You are dedicated to the process. You are even willing to bet it all. Now, here's this person who knows what I know, and they know that you are in a great deal of trouble, okay? What a dummy is what you call it, because to bet all of that and to only be left with my ass to kiss is diabolical. It's honestly insane if you ask me. All right, because the thing is this. Let me break it down for anybody who may be a little confused in translation. Here you are with the right idea, but the wrong bitch. Okay? It's very simple. It's extremely simple, okay? Right idea, once again, wrong bitch. Yeah. So now that I have gotten wind of what you think is about to take place, I am pointing you in the direction of where maybe someone would like to play games, okay? Which is all the way over there, okay? Are we there yet? No. Are we there yet? No. Okay, I want you to go further, and further, and further away. You're so excited to continue on with these games that you're like, how much further do I have to go? You are so busy making your way downtown, walking fast, okay? You want to get there, you're excited. And even through all of this, even through it all, I'm still being a good Samaritan, a team player, if you will. I grab my magnifying glass because I am determined to help you find you something safe to do. All right, y'all. Well, look, share with those who need to know. Have a good one.
The worst thing that you could do when I'm trying to be Christ-like and walk away from an argument is say, that's what I thought. Drives me up a wall. Christian don't mean soft and this Bible don't make me sweet. We from the south side of heaven. I'm trying to be like Jesus so I can raise a hallelujah, but I also nuck if you buck. Watch your mouth. Watch your... The worst thing that you could...
Hey, what's y'all doing? What are y'all doing? How y'all doing? Y'all give me 1 second. I am trying to share something. We are having part 2 of this conversation. You see the title. It says Suffering in Silence, Polarizing Politics. Special guest, Dr. Walters is back with us, okay? Tonight. Somebody look at your neighbor and say tonight. Tonight, we are going to hear, you're going to hear me read some traumatizing things, okay? We need to begin to look at our local governments and our local school districts, and we need to start facing reality about what is actually going on in them, right? We need to stop sending our children to school and thinking, they're at school. A lot of reports going on of things happening to kids in school. Not only are things happening to kids in school, things are happening to adults in school. Okay. So we need to begin to have these conversations about our school districts and about our local governments in a way that promotes change. We need to start having these real conversations and start to really change ourselves and things in our community. But it's going to start with us, right? For me, being quiet is being complicit. Okay. For me, not speaking up is agreeing. That's what it is for me. I'm gonna get to speaking in just 1 second. Let me do this. I have been so busy. Um, I don't know a lot of things that's going on. I watched the Harvey meeting today with you guys. So let me get to speaking and then we'll bring up our guests. Let's see. Hey, Javar, what's up? You channel hopping? Yeah, I seen you everywhere tonight. Okay. Hey, Cynical Steph, top of the week to you. I hope you are having a good start to your week. It's Monday. Usually it's a little crazy on Mondays. Hey, Jim C, how are you? Deb Hill, how you doing? Hey, Foxy2, Roxy3, how you doing? Hey, what's going on, Reality Check TV? Glad to see you. I saw you at the Harvey meeting. We'll probably see each other a time or two at one of those meetings here in the future, okay? Cynical Stuff, you left education 21 years ago. My, how things have changed. Child, I feel like Johnny Gill watching some of this stuff. My, okay? Um, but it's the world that we are living in right now, right? And we need to start being present in it. So we're gonna get this conversation going. You guys, if you would, share, subscribe, all of those things. Let everybody know your girl Super is on. You know, no matter what the haters are saying or whatever, everybody might be out there saying, Super on having a conversation that means something to the community. And we're gonna learn something. You're gonna learn today. That's what you're gonna do. Okay. But listen, I have my friend back with us, Dr. Walters. You all enjoyed her the last time she was on, and she's back. So without further ado, she always bring a crowd when she come into the room, honey, because let me tell you, that woman bad. Let me tell you. Okay, she bad. Look at her. Look at her. Beautiful woman. That woman is bad.
Thank
okay.
You.
So tonight, let me give this trigger warning. Okay, I want to give a trigger warning because right now we are going to talk about a sensitive subject. The subject is centered around loss. So if you're not in a place to be able to listen to somebody else's loss, give us about 5 minutes and then come back. Okay, 5 or so minutes and then come back. The last time we talked to Dr. Walters, we left off with her. Hey, Audra Banks. I'm good. Child, let me tell you. I'm going to say this first before we get started. Baby, listen, Chicago is in the deepest part of hell this week. Do you understand me? Okay? You could take a risk if you want to and go out there. You're going to come back inside breathing heavy like you don't work out or that you're unhealthy or something because it is very hot out there. The meeting at Harvard today went as expected. Liars gonna lie, and the truth will always do, but they ain't never gonna tell it. Okay, so that's how that went today. We'll get to that probably sometime this week. Hey, Laura Rack. Okay, so trigger warning. Let you know we're about to talk about a sensitive subject. If you can't handle this conversation, come back in about 5 minutes. So when we left off, we were talking to Dr. Walters about a hostile work environment, right? But okay, Audra, no problem. Give us about 5 minutes. I want you to tell the people what happened to you before you became the superintendent out in Kankakee while you were the superintendent of Chicago Heights Speed.
Yes. So, I became a superintendent at Speed Special Education School District 802 in January of 2008. In June, June 3rd, 2012, my husband came home from work. He was a Kankakee police officer. He came home from work, and like if you really think about when you go through trauma, you remember like the details of it. Like I don't remember a lot of things right now as I get older, but I remember he came home. We watched the end of Gran Torino because we both love the movie with Clint Eastwood. He After the movie went off, he liked to grill, and he's from Alabama, so he grilled a combination of deer meat and hamburger meat. You know, he was putting it all together. He went downstairs to take a shower, and he never came up. So the younger kids, my stepson and my son was 5 years old. They were upstairs playing, and he always called his sister. Like after he got off from work, he would make phone calls to one of his sisters, and they would talk for a while. So I just thought he was talking to his sister. Time went on, and finally I was like, it's been a couple of hours. I went downstairs and I found him in the bathroom. He was on the toilet, and he was leaned over against the shower, and he had passed away. So I called 911, and he was immediately taken to the hospital, but he had passed away in the basement. I called his sister, the one that he always calls, and this scripture actually has stayed with me from that moment. All things work together for the good to them who are called, to them who love God according to his purpose. That night, I don't know why his sister said God doesn't make any mistakes, and I think she quoted that scripture. I just remember that scripture stay with me, and I think that moment with his sister, my husband's sister, actually helped me get through everything since that moment. Like everything that I have been through, I always go towards all things work together for the good. We don't always like the together or the all things part, but then when you look back on the life that you have, it wouldn't be the life you have if you hadn't gone through some of the things that you've gone through.
And so at this point in your life, now you're a single mom
Hmm.
and you're, dealing with your grief, and you are now the sole provider for your home.
Yes.
And so you go from that superintendent job to being closer to home.
Yes, that is the my husband didn't want me to be the superintendent in Kankakee because we knew that the previous superintendent was retiring. And when I made the comment, oh, maybe I should apply, he did not want me to. And he talked about the politics, but I didn't understand it at that point. Now that I look back, I understand what he was saying. He probably saw things that I had never seen before. I mean, I've seen it now, like, 10 years after being a superintendent for 10 years, I understood why he didn't want me to do it. He was being protective. But I just really felt like after he died, it was easier to be a single mother if I was a superintendent in the same city that my sons went to school and I went to school, and that I lived. And I thought it would just be an easier way to be a single mother and still be able to be a superintendent.
And probably because your husband was a police officer, he probably knew things about people that you did not.
He did.
And being a good husband, he did not discuss those things at home.
Yeah.
So that's probably a call, because my dad was a police officer, was a sheriff too. And so some things he would never explain. He would just say, don't ever go over there,
Yeah.
or don't ever, do this, or don't ever go drive in that direction at this time of the day or night, So, um, yeah, that's probably, why he loved his wife, right? He loved his wife. So he was like, no, I don't want to have to come out of this uniform.
Yeah.
Because I think, once you get married, that's your husband is always thinking in that manner. No, I just want her to stay at home because I don't want to have to come outside of who I am, because that's what's going to happen.
Right.
So you're now over in Kankakee as the superintendent. It is 2014,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Um, and take us into how there was a series of things. Something happened first. So there was a cease and desist that happened, but I don't want to talk about that yet. I want to talk about how this hostile work environment investigation came about.
So there were things that happened from the time, well, actually, before I officially took the position, there were little things that were happening all along with things that were either being said or done to me. Now, remember, all things work together for the good. And the worst thing that can happen to you is for someone to, whether it's your mother, your father, your husband, your child, when someone in your life dies, things don't look that bad compared to death. Like all the things that were happening to me in my mind were not unto death. And I'm not afraid of anybody. And so I just didn't think anything of it. I dealt with it. I moved on. I dealt with it. I moved on. But it was getting increasingly more challenging to deal with the things that were happening in the community and within internally in the school district, because it was like they were just, it felt like there were a group of people that were trying to pull other people into the hostile work, the hostility, the anger, the like all of the negative things that were directed towards me. It seemed like people were trying to get other people to be a part of it. And so finally, a board member basically, in my opinion, was just get mad about a decision. I would just anticipate all these emails and these questions. And no matter what I would say about, the work that we had to get done, and then I couldn't get that done, and then do the 10 things you're asking me to do because you're mad at me, he just wouldn't stop. And so eventually I said, you all have created a hostile work environment for me from the beginning of my tenure. I just need you to stop. And so then he decided that he needed to investigate. I advised him not to, because my background, my administrative background through a lot of my career was human resources. And I said, you're going to find that it was a hostile work environment, but I advise you to just leave it alone and just treat me like a human being. Don't dehumanize me. I actually use that language. You are dehumanizing me. Treat me as a human being. But because I said I wouldn't advise you to do this hostile work environment, I think they thought, okay, well, now she's trying to back off of it. We're going to pressure her to get this done. And so that's when I was pressured at the beginning of the school year. And if there's any educators, that's one of the busiest times of the year for administrators, at the beginning of the school year. I needed to get this interview done. And finally I said, okay. And I did the interview. And it was like a 4, 5, 6 hour interview about everything that happened to me my entire time in Kankakee.
Now, I have a twofold question. So, the first part of the question is, where do you think this hostility came from? You were just coming in to the district. So, what hostility could have been created? Where did this hostility come from?
So one of the board members told me another board member went to them and said, she needs to do this, this, and this. And she said, well, I'm not going to tell her to do that. She hasn't even started yet. And then the person said, well, she's going to do what we tell her to do. And so then that was the beginning of, people had agendas and they had things that they wanted to happen in the school district. And then they just felt like they were just going to tell me what to do, even if it wasn't in the best interest of kids. They were going to tell me what to do, and I was just going to do it. But what a lot of people don't understand is a board is a board when 4 people agree. Individual members of the board is not the board. They're just individuals. It is not, the school board does not have any power until they're together in a meeting and 4 people agree. And so that was a challenge I had from day one, is that people would want their different separate agendas to happen. And then if you didn't do whatever it was that they wanted, this one individual, and at different times, if you didn't do that, then they would get mad at you. And then you didn't do something else. And then they would get mad at you. And then they would come together against you because you didn't do whatever they wanted to do for themselves. It wasn't about kids and about kids developing and growing and learning. It was literally about, I want this person to have more money, or I want this person to have a position, or I want this department to grow at the expense of this department. It was really all single agendas that people had that they were trying to push on me.
So what I want you all to hone in on and take in what she's saying is there is politicking even in the school district. Oh, I want this person to have more money, or I want this department to have this and that department to have that because so and so works in that department and this, that, and the third. So there is a lot of politics that goes on in the school district. So if you're ever wondering why your school doesn't have something, could be some politicking going on that you need to get to the bottom of. You need to go and attend a school board meeting and saying, okay, who agenda is in play here?
Right.
Because other stuff is being, missed. Now, man, is it a fine line that you have to walk because you're employed by the board?
Mm-hmm.
They have a vision for the district, right? But as superintendent, you should also have a vision for the district as well, right? How hard is it to merge those two visions?
The first 5 years, I really felt like it was a healthy balance. So one of the first things, so it is kind of interesting. So I have been accused of only caring about sports. And I think I sometimes I tell my son, you ruin my reputation, because he calls me a nerd, but he's an athlete. Like, he's really a true, can do it. I don't know when he learned how to swim. He knows how to swim. He's a true kid that really has a lot of athletic ability. So he was a starting quarterback and the starting point guard or second guard, like one of them. So then I get this reputation of only caring about sports. But what people don't know is one of the first meetings I came to before I officially start was about sports. And they gave me a direction that I wasn't even comfortable with, because I don't know anything about. I was a cheerleader because I love dancing, but in terms of knowing basketball and football intimately, I don't. And so they gave me this directive that they wanted their athletic program to go, and then they wanted the athletic program to actually work with other community or little league organizations. They really wanted to build their programs. And I said, okay. And they gave me outline kind of what they wanted to happen. I said, okay. And I allocated resources, not all resources. I allocated resources towards it, and then I handed it over to the athletic director. And then we changed athletic directors, and I handed that same vision over to that athletic director. But then that's it. I allocated resources, and I handed it over to someone, and the programs grew. Like, they really did grow.
Right, because as a superintendent, it is your job to be the leader and the facilitator, right? Because you also have to make sure that other things move and grow, like
Exactly.
test scores. The kids' grades need to rise, and they need to flourish, and the teachers also need to be educated and take seminars, and they need to grow and elevate in their ways of teaching, right? So you have other things to do. It just so happens that you were smart in who you delegated it to, and that was their ministry. That's what I say.
The passion for people in sports, I don't know how to describe it. It's different. And you know how, like, I thought I read an article about how Michael Jordan, when he stopped playing, it was like there's a name for it, where they just have to find themselves afterwards, because it's almost like an addiction.
So he had imposter syndrome because he didn't know who he was without playing basketball.
Yes. And I can see that in the world of sport. It's like a different world. And I was a part of it as a parent, but that's not my passion. Like, my passion is fine arts, and my passion is reading. I used to read a book every single day, but it was my son's passion, and I supported him in the passion and allocated resources towards it. I also allocated resources towards fine arts. I also allocated resources towards robotics. We also bought millions of dollars of reading programs, but both the people that are against sports and the people that love sports only paid attention when we did something with sports on both sides. The one day there was a basketball coach that was let go. It was also the same day that we spent, I want to say $2-3 million in a new reading curriculum. Nobody talked about the reading curriculum. They only talked about the athletic decision. And so it's funny that the people demonize me and say that all she cares about is sports. Well, that wasn't even true. It was just that when I allocated the resources towards them and assigned it to somebody, their passion took off, and the assignment of the resources for everything else, the passion didn't take off.
Right. The reason why I wanted to start here, because I'm going to show you guys the investigation. This document blew my mind. So let me put this document up. Okay. You already addressed why you missed. They were stating that they tried to, and these things cost money, right? They cost this cost the school district money to do. Was that another reason why you were opposed to them doing it? Why did you feel like you didn't want this person to steam ahead and you tried to warn them?
Because it was a hostile work environment, and because I wasn't planning on suing, and because I just didn't feel in my spirit that I wanted to do that.
Right. But did it cost the school district money?
No, there is a name in there. So, but it did. I don't know how much the initial cost was, but in order for them to continue, I think it was like $50,000 to $60,000 it would have cost.
Right. So I have redacted all of the names.
Except there's a name at the bottom when it talks about somebody's salary.
Where? Because I thought I got them all.
Yeah.
Personnel. Oh, I see it.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on one second.
That's okay.
I can redact it because I forgot. That was my fault. I thought it was so many names in this thing.
There was. I mean, there were a lot. That was another thing. There were so many witnesses and so much evidence that in order to continue to verify all the witnesses and the evidence, it would have taken another, I want to say it was $50,000 to $60,000 if I'm not mistaken.
Of resources that you told them not to expend.
Mm-hmm.
Right? These are resources that you begged them not to expend because you had no intention of suing the district. You actually didn't feel like this was a fight you wanted to fight because you was there for the kids, right? Okay,
Yeah.
give me one. Hold on. Okay, there you go. Man, and there was so many names in this.
There was a lot. There were so, and I think that's another reason why I told him not to do it is because from the whole 10 years, there were just a lot of things that happened all the time. And I just knew. I knew that it was a hostile work environment.
Yeah, when I read this document, I felt like from day one, there was not a day two, there was not a day three. You did not get a week from the time you stepped into this position. It felt like opposition.
So one of the things so I have all these books in my head, but one of them is like Drunk with Power. Adultism in public education is going to eventually be the demise of public education. Like the center of all the decision making is adults, money, and power. And so I really believe that if we as a school system could be more centered on the students like it should be, and then make sure that the resources are allocated around solutions for children, that you would see a difference in the public education system regardless of what location you're in. But that's not the focus. The focus is, how can I be more comfortable? How can I get less work? How can I get more money? How can you give my friend this or you give my, friend that? Like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't hire people from the community. That's 100%. I did that and I support it. But we also have to hold people accountable for the work that they're hired to do.
Correct. So I'm going to read this first paragraph. This says April, May, June, spring of 2014. In the spring of 2014, before Dr. Walters was formally hired as superintendent, you were verbally aggressive. I redacted the name, so they put the name of the person that they're talking about. Um, Dr. Walters closed session. Okay. Hold on. You were verbally aggressive and unprofessional toward Dr. Walters during a closed session of a regular board meeting to discuss personnel matters. When you raised the volume of your voice with an emotional tone and stated to her about her refusal to agree with you. This is bullshit. When discussing the restoration of this person's salary to the rate before her administrative assignment. So, this is what you were talking about when you said there were agendas, personal agendas.
Mm-hmm.
This person got hostile with you because they wanted you to give someone a specific salary.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, no, I ain't doing it because that's
Because
not
there's
what we do.
because there's 32 administrators. I mean, it was really, so I always think logically. So there's 32 administrators. If if I change this person, I have no idea what those other 31 administrators, like, are they going to say that there was a problem with theirs too? So I have to figure out a system of determining what the salary should be and then apply the individual to the system once the system is set up, and then it's fair.
And
But
then
I
let's
can't, go ahead.
well, let's be realistic here. When you have people who all work together, right? Most of the places I've worked have had this policy where you're not supposed to tell your salary to anyone else, right? But we do it.
And in public schools, it's public. Like you can look up
Right.
anything. And I don't think of it like that, but honestly, it's true. If you start doing that in a public school system, all the salaries are public. And so everybody's going to know what you did. So create a system and apply salaries based on a system and not based on, that person should get 50,000 more dollars, or that person should get 10 more dollars, or that person should get a pay cut. There has to be a system, and then you apply everyone to a system that's designed without trying to figure out how people fit into it. Like, figure out what's fair and then look at how the people's salary compared to what's fair, if that makes sense.
Right, because that's a better system than saying I'm gonna give this person that and I'm gonna give this person this because I like this person, but I don't like this person that much. It's like you're giving preferential treatment. So I'm
Exactly.
gonna tell you guys this report is set up such that the person's name, you see where it says respondent here, they listed everything that he did to Dr. Walters. I don't even know how she endured this. This same person, and the reason why I redacted the names, because we are not here to um, single out anyone at this point. We are here to talk about the hostile work environment or the things that go on in your school district that you need to know that is happening that you might not know is happening, right? So we're not here to single anyone out. We're here to talk about this hostile work environment that was created. In 2018, the same person said at the junior high school, you verbally confronted Dr. Walters about missing band uniforms in an aggressive and unprofessional manner, yelling and screaming at her. In December of 2019, this same person, while attending a public gathering to discuss the Junior Caves Football Club in the auditorium at the high school, publicly confronted Dr. Walters in an unprofessional and aggressive manner by shouting at her and aggressively pointing your finger at her when she was on stage addressing the crowd in attendance with a microphone. I know, Dr. Walters, I know you lying. And I want to do that the F word so bad. I know you lying. I know that this person did not stick their hand in front of your face.
He was out in the crowd a little bit, but I was standing up, and everyone else was sitting, and he was like,
Dr. Waters, I feel like you playing this down a little bit. Oh, he was in the crowd. Man, I wish I had been there because I've been like, have you lost your mind? Don't you ever. Like that, Lord, let me keep reading. I can't even believe this. This same person in 2021 during a board meeting discussing appointment of as an assistant principal of the high school, you exhibit aggressive behavior towards Dr. Walters through the volume and tone of your voice in disagreement, stating that she must be in so and so's pocket and stating words to the effect of, "What do I owe you? And I could do anything I want to you." Later in the same meeting, you also exhibited verbal aggression towards Dr. Walters in the same demeanor, in that you cursed at her, told her that the community harassment referenced in the cease and desist letter in March of 2021 was what Dr. Walters deserved, and that she brought it all upon herself, and that you and the board member, they put a name there, did not want to hire an attorney for her to stop the harassment of her by the community members. Oh my God. So you're being harassed by this one person continuously in front of this report that we are looking at was done by a law firm, an outside firm. This is their investigative report. These are the things that people had the audacity to tell them that happened and that was done. On this particular day, do you remember this day, Dr. Walters?
Oh yeah. So I'm not saying that this makes it right. I think part of the problem is that I'm from Kankakee. And so these are people that I've known, well, not all of them, but most of these people I've known for years. And so it was like an abusive relationship or an unhealthy family. Like it was like being in an unhealthy dysfunctional family.
I'm telling you right now, he not finna be a part of my family. I know you lying.
Yeah, I mean, like it really was. So you know so I don't think that until I went through the interview, I don't think that I had even consciously understood the extent of all of it. Because when something happens and you move on, I don't think you really think about it. But when you have to sit for hours and talk about everything that has happened from the day that before you started until that moment that you're interviewing, it was actually almost like I was going through therapy, because I just couldn't believe that all that stuff had happened. And I started actually feeling it, like going through it and talking about it, one incident after another. I started actually feeling it.
Do you feel like that was a direct reflection of you not being able to grieve properly? Because when you said that it's not death,
You know what?
that just made an excuse for whatever is going to happen next. As long as it's not death, I'm fine.
You know what? I think you might be right. And I'm going to talk about something that's like kind of is. It may not sound like it's relative, but it is. I think you might be right, but I'm just now realizing that at this moment. So my husband died. Then not soon after there, they started the search for a new superintendent. Then I became the superintendent. I'm still trying to take care of this 5, 6, 7-year-old. And I mean, because this is the time period that he was 5, then he turned 6, and I'm still trying to take care of him. So when my son went to school, which was just last August, what did I call it? I called it delayed grief, because I cried the whole weekend. I mean, so this is like, I mean, literally, this is what, 13 years later? I cried the entire weekend, but I don't think I was crying because my son went to college. I think I was crying because I held it together from the time he was 5 until the time he was 18. And I think that after he left, it just all came out.
Because as a single parent, you don't have time to unpack things. You don't have time to unpack grief. You don't have the time to unpack loneliness. You don't have the time to unpack, I need help. You just have to move,
Yeah, you
and you
just
just have to keep constantly moving. Um, this same person, it says from 2014 to present, and to present would be 2021, right?
yeah.
Um,
I think
during
maybe October of 2021, maybe or I think it was September that I did the interview, but I don't remember exactly when.
It was. That was stated in the first
Okay.
page.
Okay.
During board meetings, you have made unprofessional and discriminatory statements about or to Dr. Walters to the effect of, "What do I owe you? And I could do whatever I want to you." And we can tell her what to do, and she has to do what we tell her because of her gender. Now, my question is, what is happening in this room with all of these other board members while these things are being said?
I can tell you that there were a couple of female board members that actually, would take up for me and would say things. But there were other board members that just sat there and listened. And sometimes, and I am not saying I'm right, but sometimes I felt like there were board members that felt like I deserved it, especially in I would say that my last 2 or 3 years, I felt like my image had been damaged so much by the people that were mad at me that there were new people that were coming in and just thinking I was this horrible person. Isn't in there. There was one board member that said that we wouldn't hire her, and we didn't even know she applied, but she likes the person that didn't hire her, but she's mad at the people that had no idea she applied. Like, says how wonderful the person is that did not hire her, but keeps saying that we didn't hire her. And so I think a lot of people misunderstand that when you have 1,000 employees, the likelihood of the person in charge going through the interview process and pulling applications is pretty slim. And
Right.
so that's the thing that people don't understand. The superintendent doesn't do all the hiring. Like, I can help make recommendations, but I have to make a recommendation to a system that starts at the level of the person that's supervising that person.
I am still stuck at, you felt like there were some people who felt like you deserved what this person was doing. That is still, um I'm just trying to reconcile it in my brain, to think that we hired someone only to harass and degrade them.
Mhm.
What is that? What this position is about, or is that someone's agenda? And how, I also struggle with, where do the parents come in, right? So if parents had been attending these meetings, they would have been witnessing these things.
They wouldn't have seen, well, they would have seen some things, but a lot of these things happened in closed session.
Wow. Wow. Like for me, I could do without that closed session. You can talk about whatever you need to talk about out right out here. Because I feel like loads of things go on in that closed session that the parents don't know about. There's wheeling and dealing in that closed session. Um, and there's conversations or comments that people make, because I feel like the board, right, is elected officials.
Mhm. And they're
So
supposed to represent the community.
right, so I feel like you should not be able to have closed session because I elected you, and I should be privy to whatever you're saying, because I elected you because I felt like morally you were good, that you were going to make good decisions. And I feel like when these closed sessions happen, people go in there and make bad decisions.
And what's really hard and unfair to the community is that if I'm a community, and I never blamed, although there was some community harassment, I really felt like I couldn't completely blame the community, because the community assumed that board members that were telling them that things happened were telling the truth. because they would know, like the people that know the most about what goes on in the school district in terms of the decision making are the board members. And so if the board members are lying on the superintendent, the community assumes that it's true.
Right. And what can you do? Especially if
Yeah.
they doing the lying in closed session, and then they can come out and say whatever they want.
That's
Right?
exactly what happened. Uh-huh.
Right. So that's why I said, listen, I would do without that little closed session, because whatever you in there talking about, you should be able to talk about it in front of me because I elected you. Right. I just feel like there is some things that people do in closed session that they would have never been elected if they had have said or done something like that in the public.
That's true. I really do believe that that's true.
So now we're going into where you said he's going into October. This from 21 to 22, it says that that person that you have exhibited indifference to the well-being of Dr. Walters in connection with issues involving her safety and reputation in the community, specifically taking no action to address the circumstance of security breach at District 111 school building, not defending her against Facebook posts, and we're going to get into these Facebook posts, attacking her for the scheduling delays in 2021, and resisting efforts to secure her legal representation in her official capacity in response to harassment and intimidation from members of the District 111 community in 2020 and 2021. In October, at a business finance meeting, you stated to Dr. Walters that she should pay back all the money the district has paid her. Wow. Like, wow. So since they referenced the cease and desist, I'm going to show you guys the cease and desist. So Dr. Walters, can you tell them what I'm about to read, where these things came from that I'm about to read?
So they were on Facebook, and all of it isn't directed towards me. So the attorney was hired by the district, and so the attorney just scrubbed Facebook and found any comments about the school district. So some of the comments really weren't directed towards me. It was about something else, but most of them were directed towards me. The most insulting and degrading comments were directed towards me.
So there was a cease and desist that was put together by a law firm and sent out to particular individuals. I have redacted their addresses and their names from this document. That's why you see that big black box there. And I'm going to read to you what they did was they put some of the posts in the cease and desist to reference for the people that they sent the cease and desist to let them know this is what you said and it's unacceptable and you need to stop. So, whew, Lord. Listen, viewer discretion is advised. Some of the things that I'm about to read are disturbing to hear. All right. So they sent this letter. It says, "Good evening. We are retained by the Board of Education of Kankakee School District 111 to investigate certain harassing, threatening, and defamatory actions against certain district officials. You are receiving this letter," and that right there makes me mad. Ooh, "because you appear to be involved in a concerted action to advance," another one, "assist or otherwise participate in these actions." And so the board and the district administration welcome broad and robust public political speech in whatever form made, even when criticizing public officials, though the law does not permit you to make threats, harassment, or statements that are made with actual malice. That is with actual knowledge that they are false or reckless disregard for the truth. I know about 3 people right now I want to send one of these to. Lord, Father God.
There's a name in there, so we got to take that name out.
Wait a minute, where is it?
At the bottom.
Right here.
Yes.
Okay. Well, there was no first name attached, so that
Okay. But
that's why I
Kankakee
didn't.
people would know.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe some of them should. Okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
leave that there.
Okay.
And they can FOI the district for this cease and desist if they like.
Actually, I think they can. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think they
Yeah,
can.
they can. It's
Yeah.
public information.
Yeah.
I'm doing them a courtesy by redacting their stuff, whatever, at least the top part.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
Okay, because the top part they would redact, but
Right.
but this bottom part, oh no, you would get all that in the FOI.
Yeah.
So, Kankakee, do your best work.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what people were saying. So, Kankakee, I want you to know this woman that is sitting before you that ran for mayor of your great city, who wanted to do great things for your city, was in a hostile work environment while y'all sitting up there saying she didn't do anything for the district. And these are the things that was being said about her on Facebook and Facebook posts by your neighbors. And I don't know about anybody else, but listen, let me tell you something. I don't really know my neighbors too well, but you better not come on my block talking about them. And if they have any problems, I'm gonna be right there on their side telling them what? Huh? Cause no, that's my neighbor. I'm not gonna allow you to say things about my neighbor, especially if it's not true. So here we go. Check this out. So, New York Times versus Sullivan, based upon our review, several of our collective statements and actions appear to fall into these categories. For the purposes of illustration, we note the following examples. This was on a Facebook post, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talking about a bitch that has swallowed every nigga. Wait a minute. Let me make this bigger because y'all might be thinking I'm lying. Can you see it now? I hope y'all can see it. Can y'all see it clearly? Because this right here has taken me out. And we talking about 2021. We're not talking about 1969. We're not talking about 1970. We ain't talking about 77. We ain't even talking about 1980. We're not talking about 1990. We're talking about 2021. You see the date there? 2021. We're talking about a bitch that has swallowed every nigger drug dealer's dick in the community. You out here connected to every drug dealer in the city with your dick in your mouth. You want to play with me? I'm going to bring it to your ass, honey. You better get ready. Lord, never did I say anything about harm or hurting you, girl. I don't give a fuck about your life, let alone putting these precious ass hands on you. No, the parents are going to do that. I don't need to. I'm their wake up. I'm letting them know what's going on. If I get a knock at my door from a police officer about some bullshit about my opinion, the way I was going to drag that ass, I was going to hit you all like personally. Do you hear me? I was going to hit you personally and go professionally, and I would have gone. Once I got done, it would have been it. You would have been contemplating everything, okay? Child, listen. Did y'all just hear what I read? And I ain't even finished. That's not even. The next one says the officers have been abusing the kids for a very long time, psychologically and sexually. What? This was in reference to the school resource officers. There are numerous reports about the officers putting their hands and fake charges on these kids. How are they allowing police officers to abuse these kids in school? Need to be hit in her fucking mouth. Cause see, one thing about me, bitch, I'ma bring the pain. Wait. Cause I don't want y'all to just think that I'm just sitting here reading, right?
Oh yeah, that name. We're gonna take that name off.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I think I see that one.
Yeah.
So let me just read it. I'ma bring the pain. I ain't gonna beat around no bush. I ain't gonna be around no corner. I ain't gonna to no neighbor house. I'm gonna come straight to your front door. This was wild. This was like the wild, wild west of Facebook.
It was.
Yes, Justin, I can see you from Twitch. This is crazy. This is crazy. Now you can foil for this. Can Key, if you're watching, you may foil for this from the district.
You
And
know,
they
I have to say this. I just at the time I didn't think anybody really cared. I mean, like I just now let me say this though. There were people in my circle that cared.
right.
But and there were people that were very angry about it in my own immediate circle. And so what they would do is they would just send people over. Like so my son has friends, and one day I had all these boys was coming over to spend the night. I said, what's going on? Oh, my mom said I needed to get out of the house because they were sick of me. No, you weren't. You all were concerned about my safety. So y'all sent a whole bunch of boys with between the ages of 14 and I want to say, I don't know how the oldest, I'm thinking of, he just graduated from college. I want to say the oldest at the time was probably 19 or 20, and I could be wrong about that. But they just sent him over to spend the night. And I know that they were there for a reason. But they wouldn't admit it. They just said, "Oh no, my mom said we got to leave. We need to come someplace else. We need to go hang out over here." But they were actually concerned because they were seeing all this stuff on Facebook. And they were concerned.
And that's because you were a single mom. It was you and your son. And people are making these crazy posts on Facebook. You're just trying to do your job. Lies are being told. Man, the anger inside of me right now is crazy because if we had been friends back then, that part, what is that man's name? Bill Duke, when he said, you fucked up, right? The way I would have been sitting down at that school board meeting, and I probably would have been arrested. Because if that man had raised his voice, I would have said, and who you talking to? Like, this is outrageous. This is outrageous. This is horrible. And then for someone to think that you did not have the right to send a cease and desist to these people has blown my mind. And we're going to try to have Dr. Walters back so that we can talk to her about this podcast that she went on. And that is exactly what happened. And let me tell y'all, because y'all know Super, I went directly to the podcast Facebook page, and I tore it up. And this podcaster had a nerve to tell me that since I don't donate to their page, they don't have to be responsive to me. I told them, oh, that's what it takes? I just need to pay you, and the podcast can go in any direction I want it to go in? I have proof of the post. Gonna leave you on that little cliffhanger because Super, I don't mind. I don't mind holding people to a higher standard, because what you're not going to do is create a narrative because somebody paid you to do it. So this about to get interesting because now Super has entered the chat. And this has become a whole different conversation. But Dr. Walters, let us know what culminated your putting in your retirement.
I was with a group of superintendents, and I was just saying, they were just talking about when you're going to retire. And I said, I thought I had 3 more years. And then someone said, well, did you ever work in the district before you were in TRS? And I did. My first job was as a family service worker. Um, and so I had, this is my dog. I don't know what he wants. So let me let him out. Do you mind real quick?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do you guys have any questions for Dr. Walters? We're gonna take a few questions before we get out of here. But we're gonna come back with the podcast and Super's comments. Okay. Y'all got any? What do you all think about the stuff that I read? What is on your mind about the stuff that I read that was being said in this school district and being done to the superintendent, Dr. Walters, at the time that she was there? I can't, man. She better than me, because baby, they would have been having me on CBS or WG9, whatever. They would have been seeing me in handcuffs, and I would have been saying, and I do it again. Because that's what I would have been doing. They would have had me in handcuffs, and I would have said, and I'll do it again. Say something else, I'll knock another one of your teeth out. That would have been me. Okay, so tell us what culminated, you ultimately deciding to retire, and then I'm going to read this comment.
So I really didn't, like, I love the Kankakee children and their families. And I can tell you that no matter how challenging our kids can be, I really felt like I had really healthy relationships with the children, and I think they trust me, and they still trust me. And so, but I didn't want to be in that political climate anymore. It was too toxic, and I had cancer twice. I had colon cancer, and in 2 or 3 weeks after colon cancer, they attacked me because they said I did a schedule that I did not do. And so I was on NBC News. You can actually, I think it was NBC. You can look it up, where I'm walking around explaining right after COVID the schedule, but I didn't do the
Now she got
schedule.
stuck on
Like, I have 13 schools. Everyone that understands how scheduling is done know that someone else. Oh, can you hear me?
No, I can hear you.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was so I had cancer. They blamed me for the schedule. That eventually was over. But then I think it was a year or two later, I had the exact same cancer again. And so I just felt like, even though I didn't think I was stressed, because all things work together for the good, and that's my mindset, clearly my body was stressed. And so I found out that I could retire early if I used the time that I was in an IMRF, a different retirement system. And so once I figured that out, I retired, not to stop working with children and not to stop, helping children and their families, but so that I could get out of that toxic, very negative environment, and then I could choose to work in communities that care about their kids and want the best for their community, not communities that are more concerned about power, politics, and control. Like, that's what I felt like. It was always about power, politics, and control. It wasn't about what's best for kids and how can we grow kids.
Cancer twice. You have to deal with this harassment. And these are your so-called neighbors. These are people who live in Kankakee. You called it a dysfunctional relationship. That sounded so very programmed to me, because we are so used to just dealing with dysfunction that is almost a knee-jerk or normal response to accept it.
I agree.
So, like, I cannot imagine, and nobody during this whole time cared that you were dealing with these health issues, or even had dealt with the passing of your husband. Somebody said, I want to know how she has handled her mental health and her son's mental health through all this, after what she has done for education and the community.
So my background is school social work. So I kind of think that, and plus I'm very spiritual, and so I kind of think that I got through it through my through my spiritual beliefs and just kind of making sure I was okay. I exercise on a regular basis, but I have to say the thing that I am very impressed with my son is that he literally does not care what people say about him. Now that took some time, but like he's like one time I was telling him something. He was a senior, he's a senior quarterback, and I was telling him something that was said that I didn't like. He said, "Mom, you know I don't care about that, right?" I mean, he just doesn't care. I think he grew more and more resilient and stronger through the experience, but I don't think it was right that he had to go through that because I mean he's old enough to see and hear some of the things that people are saying. I actually right before the mayoral race, I know he'd be mad at me, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Right before the mayoral race, he sent me a message, and I'm gonna read it. And even though I know he's gonna be mad at me, I'm gonna still read it.
Don't be mad, Lorenz.
He said to me, I have to go back to the day because we text all the time.
It's Auntie Super now, Lorenz. Don't be mad.
Let me go to the date. It was right before the election. Let me find it. He also sends me recipes on TikTok that I'm supposed to cook.
I love that because I be on TikTok too. My 18-year-old be like, "Ma'am, you far too old to be on TikTok. Please go get your cookbook off the shelf, please, ma'am."
So okay, I got to get to it. And he this is and so I started a not for profit called Faith and Works, and this is why. He said, "I love you, Mom. Whatever the outcome is, I'm proud of you. You care for Kankakee in a way that makes no sense to me. People try to belittle you and bash your name, and you still do right by the community. When we came back to school over break, he plays basketball. Coach told us to pick a quote or Bible verse to present and say what it means. I chose faith without works is dead. I've always known of the verse and stuff, but I never really thought it too hard about it. Then he asked, "Who or what does my quote relate to?" To be honest, I just said an answer just to get it over with. And then I thought about you. I've watched you get up at 6 a.m. and not come home until 10 p.m. because you were working and still come home and cook for me and Joya. Joya is my sister that is mildly disabled. Moral of the story: if nobody appreciates you, Mom, I do. And then he sends like a little, like the heart emoji. So I think he's been stronger because of it. So I'm glad about that. Again, all things work together for the good. But I also don't think that some of the things that he had to deal with, because they started attacking him too, I don't think it was fair to him. And I do know superintendent friends that have said that their children were treated so badly. I had a superintendent friend that said her child tried to commit suicide. And so I just think that people have to be very aware. You can criticize a decision and you can disagree with a decision, but it doesn't have to get to the point where you attack the person and their children.
Lord have mercy. You better preach up in here because people are attacking me. And I said, you can attack whatever it is that I might say, but me personally, you don't know me, so you should not be attacking me. You should not be body shaming me. You should not be doing any of those things, right? Because we're in the age of protect Black women. We're in an age of let's unite the community, whatever community you're in. You know,
Right.
Black, white, Asian, Mexican, Latino, whatever, right? But no, here we are. Here we are out here. And then there's a super, and then there's a Dr. Walters, and we're trying to say, no, I'm not gonna give you back the same energy that you're giving to me. Okay, you don't like what I'm saying, fine. You know, find another way to communicate,
Right.
but stop attacking me. You know,
Right.
and you feel like, okay, I dealt with it, fine, go on. And it's still happening. You're like, I have to have fallen into a black hole because I know that I said move around.
Right.
But the unfortunate thing is that um, people hey, Anissa Starks, have a good evening, okay? Be safe. Thank you for stopping in. People do not understand that the people that can help them make the most change are the people that they are most opposed to.
Mhm.
And it's most of the time because of egos, because they want to be the person, but it's not your mandate. It's not your mantle, right?
Agree.
It's like I had to tell somebody, you you can't sit in a seat marked with my name.
I
Because
agree.
if that is my ministry, that is just my ministry. And if you sit in it, it's gonna fail because it ain't your ministry.
Mhm. I do truly believe that. I believe you have to do what God tells you to do, and if you walk in line with what your mission is, it'll be blessed. But if you try to look over in the other house in the other window and say, "I want that house over there in that corner," if that's not your house, it's not your house. And so I think that's part of the problem. I've even been told, you need to apologize to the people that you harmed. Well, who did I harm? And then once I try to reconcile and you're still angry with me, you want to be angry with me anyway. So I'm not putting that monkey on my back anymore. I'm not putting that monkey on my back. If
There are
you,
some people that are just hell bent on misunderstanding you, and that is just what they're gonna do. It doesn't matter if what you're doing is working. It doesn't matter if what you're doing is right. It doesn't matter if what you're doing is helping. It doesn't matter if what you're doing is making a difference. They just hell bent on misunderstanding you, and they gonna attack you. And for me, once that happens, I feel like, okay, well, maybe that was their mission from the devil. Okay, well, let's be in it then, honey, because you finna be real bad at me. So, I hate it for the kids because they are the ones that are suffering. Because when you have someone that is child focused, the kids flourish.
Mhm.
That's just that's the long and short of it. For all the people who felt like uh the kids' scores have been bad since Dr. Walters been here. No, the scores was bad before Dr. Walters got there, and even before that lady got there, and before that lady got there.
Mhm.
Right? So even if you were taking it on an incline, once the harassment started, that was no longer the focus.
And I actually have been thinking about this a lot in the last month or so. There are institutions that are meant to help people. The unions are meant to help the workers. The NAACP is meant to help people of color. There are institutions that are designed and their mission are to help people. So I'm trying to figure out why these institutions are so dysfunctional in our community, because our community is dysfunctional. And so I don't want to bash any of the institutions in their mission and what they're supposed to do. But a lot of the institutions here in Kankakee are a microcosm of the dysfunction of the entire community. And so instead of helping people, it's re-injuring or re-victimizing people because, again, power, control, and money. I mean, like that's the issue. It's not they're not fulfilling their mission. So I can't raise test scores if people don't want to teach at grade level and people don't want to do lesson plans. I
For
can't. I mean,
me,
I can't.
right, and for me, I wouldn't say everybody in the community is dysfunctional, right? Because you're in the community, I'm in the community. I feel like it's the people that is in power
I have to.
that is dysfunctional, right? It's very
I have to agree.
hard. It's very hard to ask, and I can't even believe that you actually did it and ran for mayor, because it's very hard to get a person like me or you to participate in politics or to participate in something that you have to be elected for, because we are not attention focused.
Right.
We are solution focused. We
That's
are
yeah.
education focused. Was somebody learning something from this? Or, how is this going to propel their life forward? Right? In politics, people don't think like that. People think, how am I going to propel me forward? How are these people going to help me get to the next step? Right? People like me and you, we're not thinking in that vein. We're thinking, how is this going to make my community better? Right? Which is going to in turn propel me to where I want to go. Because you got to help someone to be able, because it's like steps, right? We're all steps.
Right.
You know,
And
some of us are going to go further up the steps than some other people, because some other people just don't have the strength to propel themselves there, right?
right.
So, for me, this is unfortunate for Kankakee in that way, because you had children's lives that you needed to change, and because you had to change course, now they're going to still be affected. Why? Because God says what's for me is for me. So they're still going to get there somehow, whether they come a roundabout way into your life, and you help them, maybe later on in their education. But, directly, you could have helped so many children. Who knows? You could have been helping the next senator, the next US representative, the next president, the next vice president, the next attorney general, the next state's attorney. I mean, all of these things, have interrupted the course of destiny. And this is what I feel like people don't recognize.
Right.
That when you let the politics get into it, or you choose without doing research on the person you're choosing, your quality of life is going to be so diminished.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Because a person like you has the ability, and I think that's really what it is. Sometimes our people are just so jealous at the people that you're able to reach and they're not. Right?
So I've been talking about that a lot, and I was talking to one of my a friend of mine that's a minister, and I said people want the attention, but they don't want to sacrifice. And so when you have a child that is struggling, and let's just say homeless, and they need somebody's place to stay, are you gonna let them stay on your couch? Are you gonna give them some money? I mean, are you going to help pay a bill? Like you all want, people want all this attention, but are they going to sacrifice themselves to help help a child? And no, they're not. They're only going to go as far as they're comfortable. They don't want to have any discomfort.
They want to tell you what to do, not show you what to do. Mm-hmm. So, when I was was telling you, when I was homeless, there weren't a lot of people that helped me, but there were certain people that helped me a lot. Mm-hmm. Right. And in every step, and that was their ministry to do. I just thank God that nobody deterred them by harassing them or talking about them before they got to meet me, because that would have been a tragedy. Yeah.
That's
and
powerful.
So, yeah, I think that, this is what happened at the moment that you retired. A lot of kids did not get to benefit, if not from your help, from your wisdom.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Right? So, yeah, I mean, man.
And I have to say one more thing. People are always saying she's not perfect. She's not perfect. I have never said I was perfect. I'm not perfect. Instead of saying we're not perfect. None of us are perfect. And I've never said I was perfect. I did the best I can with the information I had at the time.
For me, I don't think it's about being perfect in deed or word, but it's about being perfect in your intent. Because you have some people who are not perfect in their intent. Their whole intent is to get into a seat and see how they can corrupt it. Mm-hmm. And see how they can take advantage of it. That's their whole intent. But this is very unfortunate, but you are helping children still, in a different way, in a different capacity. You're helping Pembroke now get their children, and they're going to thrive and flourish because of it. And I can almost guarantee you're going to receive more criticism and more harassment. Why? Because people are going to be jealous that you're doing in Pembroke what they wanted you to do in Kankakee, but they couldn't shut up so that you could do it. That,
yeah.
Here we are. I'm just saying, that's where we are now. So the next time we get to talk to you, hopefully it's Monday again. I love these Monday talks.
Okay.
And we will go into this podcast. That's why I tell you all, please do research on your podcast. Please be careful who you listen to. You can listen to whoever you want, but make sure that they're doing a few things in your life. They're educating you, They're making you a better person, and they're making you understand your flaws, right? Because we all have them.
We all
I'm
have.
not perfect. Man, I got a lot of flaws. Y'all see my baby podcast. If my baby podcast can give you any indication of the person I could be, then you should know I have flaws.
Good.
Okay? Because them baby podcasts, honey, okay? Y'all know. Y'all seen them. So that should tell you that I do have flaws. I don't get everything right. I have made a lot of mistakes in my life. I have a lot of regrets in my life. Things I wish I could go back and fix and do different. People I wish I could apologize to and tell them I'm sorry. Um, in lots of cases, that can't be done because they're no longer here. In other cases, it can be done, but they're not open. So
Yes.
you have to deal with all of those types of consequences, right? So I'm not immune to that. There are some people though that I don't mind not being able to, and you know who you are because I'm sure you watching. Um, so with that being said, you all tune in the next time. We're gonna talk about this podcast that you was on. We're gonna look at these posts and we're going to look at these responses because these responses were very interesting. How Dr. Walters became a part of this podcast and a part of their particular conversation was interesting to me. And it was a very interesting way that I discovered it. And mm, man, I wish in all actuality I could do a podcast with the podcast that she was on because baby, whew, Lord have mercy. That would be a good podcast.
We were thinking about doing something in person, and I'm still not opposed to that. But I know that the people that attack don't want to do this in person. Like they don't want like they don't want to actually say you did this to me because half the time they're not telling the truth anyway.
Okay, so let me tell y'all, first of all, so Dr. Walters agreed to do an in-person, and y'all let me know in the chat if y'all think she should do it and that if Super should be present and be one of the moderators of this town hall. It's going to be a bit of a town hall.
Yes.
So Dr. Walters agreed to do a town hall after discovering that this podcast didn't have such pure intentions of having her on. To me, and this is me, allegedly, she was misled. That's the way I see it. We'll lay it out to you the next time we're on the podcast, okay? And we'll let you guys decide. But, and maybe we'll do this in my private member community for my members only. I'll tell you about this podcast. That way we'll be able to talk more free about what happened. But Dr. Walters agreed to do a podcast with the people that were sent the cease and desist letters, so that
And
she
anyone else that has a complaint with me,
right, and anybody else that has a complaint with her, so that she could address their complaints in person and formally and answer their accusations and their questions. And that's what she has agreed to do. And if she agrees to do it, you know, Super want to be a part of this conversation because, first of all, even if I don't go be a part of this conversation, I'm going to be in the room and ain't going to be no foolery. So, Kanga Key, if you watch it and this podcast takes place and the other podcaster doesn't want me to be involved, I have no problem. But I guarantee I'll be in the room and ain't going to be no foolery taking place in there.
and we have
Okay.
to do and I want my son there because he's very good and calm. So he has to go back to school. I think July 28th or 29th. So it had to be done before he goes back to school, just so that he can be present. He's very calm. He's very
Now listen, I'm very calm too. But don't you start raising your voice and start standing up and doing all that crazy stuff that I was reading on that paper.
Oh no, he's not gonna tolerate that either.
Okay, right.
They
Okay,
all be
okay.
right
So
together.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Auntie Super, and Lorenz, we both gonna be in the room. Yeah, you know you fucked up, right? Okay. So y'all let me know. Get in these comments and tell me if you think that Super should be a part of this town hall and be a moderator and moderate this situation, because I got questions for these people who made these comments. I got questions if they thought that if somebody made this comment to their sister or their mother or their cousin, if they would have thought it was appropriate to make some of these comments that they made. That's what I want to know. I want to know if a teacher had made some of the comments that they made about them on social media, how would they react? That's what I want to know. I think Dr. Walters agreeing to face shows she knows she can handle the opposition with her truth and receipts. We showed the receipts, honey.
Oh, thank you.
Integrity is glowing out of this woman.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Wink and Wonder. Anybody else? Anybody else will want to tune into that? Because you know I will be broadcasting, whether I be a part of it or I don't, because I don't have to be a part of it. I'm going to be in the room. It's going to be a conversation that I'm going to broadcast, but I'm definitely going to step in and ask questions, because I am very curious as to why these people think that it is okay to harass their neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
People that live in the same town, we pay the same taxes, we enjoy the same services, we go to the same grocery store, we call the same people. When I call 911, show up at your door, show up at my door. So, and I will, but at the same time, I'm gonna be listening. I'm gonna be actively listening to both sides. Dr. Walters, no, I'm gonna tell her, well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that, sis. You know, I don't know about that one. You know, I don't know. But she knows at the same time, I'm gonna be judicious in what I say and what I do. And I just have those particular questions for those people. Why? Yeah, Justin, thank you. Why did they think it was appropriate to be making these statements? And what were they thinking? I'm just I just would not want anybody to be talking to my sister, my mother, my aunt, my grandmother, like any of my relatives, in the manner that these people spoke about this woman. So yeah, I I am so baffled right now. I am, because that first one that I read, man, I know some family members of mine would have found that person and balled them up like an old newspaper for being like, are you crazy? Like,
there were some people. No, there was another one that that is not in there, that they were talking about my husband, and my family members got really mad because I still had a son. And so they were like, okay, you chose to be the superintendent, but Lorenz didn't choose this. And so Lorenz's father has been dead for years, and here is somebody talking about his father on social media. And so they were angry. My daughter, my oldest daughter, was angry about it, and there were people in my family that was really angry about that when they went so far as to talk about my deceased husband.
yeah, and you don't, when you're any job that you have, you don't get to choose who they attack. They just, they just do that systematically, and part of that is politics. They do that too. They're gonna find and do anything, and bring up old things and make up things and twist things and send folks, and that's just what it is. Winky Wonder says, I feel like Dr. Walters will own her actions even if she looks back on decisions as mistakes. At the time, she did what she thought was best. And she will, for real, she will. But at the same time, she doesn't think these people will show up. And
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Because for me, they were either sent by someone, right? Or they are just those keyboard warriors. We all know them. They'll be up here talking trash, but as soon as you pull up, they call in the police. No, don't call the police now, because I'm here. You asked me to come. I'm gonna show the policeman where you asked me to come. So come on out here. So that's what I think she's feeling. And I think hopefully they have tuned in. Lots of people have tuned in to these episodes and seen some of the things that they thought were true, because people tell lies here. And they could have been, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They could have been told a lie.
I still believe some of them were told a lie. I do.
They could have been told a lie and thought it was the truth because they didn't do their own research, or they didn't ask Dr. Walters directly. Because sometimes that's what we do. We say, oh, I trust this person and this is what they told me. And then all of a sudden you did something you didn't do because the person that they trusted lied to them. And that's going to be something they're going to have to come to grips with. So maybe we said something in one of these two podcasts that was said that was a lie and we debunked it. I hope, that we do get this put together by the end of the month. And I hope that the invitation is extended to them and they come. Because we need to get this worked out in the community. The children are at stake. Their futures are at stake. This is not about the adults, because we are making it about the adults. This is about the children that could have benefited from this guidance and wisdom. Trying to make this community better, which she did. She did a lot of things. She brought that athletic department up. She brought up this reading. She was having town halls. You all were getting so much information that you were not even participating in. Because why? Because you were distracted by the messenger.
We had a $6 million deficit that was hidden by the assistant superintendent of business my first year, and a $6 million fund balance. And that's it. That's all the money we had. When I left, we had a $24 million fund balance, if I'm not mistaken. It was no less than $21 million. But
ma'am,
no
good
one
night.
even wants to look at that.
Ma'am, good night. Good night. Because first of all, these people don't have a problem. They got a problem with their mammy and they need to go sort that out. Okay? They got a problem. They need to go find their edges. They more worried about something that ain't got nothing to do with them. They need to be worried about finding their edges. This right here, you know what, ma'am? Listen, y'all, we coming back with the next episode next Monday, because I can't believe what she just said. They in a $6 million deficit. She turned it into a $24 million surplus before she left. And she being called out her name. Father God. Okay. I cannot deal with people. I cannot. But nobody probably talked about that. Nobody wanted to acknowledge that. Nobody wanted to acknowledge that nice center over there that was built that has your name on it, that they are utilizing every day, opening the door, walking in and out of. You know what? Good night. Listen. See y'all. Maybe tomorrow. No. Will I see y'all tomorrow? Maybe I'll see y'all tomorrow. But I gotta go because I can't even.
Oh, I ain't want nothing, man. Just wanted to tell you I love you. Oh, I ain't want nothing, man.